Drug abuse among young people is a concerning issue with significant impact on their health, education, and future prospects. Factors contributing to this problem include peer pressure, accessibility, mental health issues, and societal influence. This introduction sets the stage for comprehensive examination of the causes, effects, and interventions aimed at addressing the pervasive issue of drug abuse in modern society. Now let's go on a quick break, and when we return, the discussion will commence proper. Welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us on another interesting episode of Youth Connect on Trust TV. I am Fatima Ahmed Musa. Now I have with me in the studio Isah Ismaila. He's an investigative journalist with Daily Trust newspaper. And Joanne Madaki. She's a fashion designer. Thank you so much, Joanne, for joining us.
Thank you very much for the invite.
Okay, Isah, let me start with you. Drug abuse. You can see that it's actually a concerning issue in our society today, especially among young people. What do you think causes that?
Well, the issue of drug abuse is an issue that is actually very, very disturbing, especially in recent times, right? And especially among youths, like you rightly said. One of the major reasons, from my own standpoint, from the investigation and discussions that I've had with people that abuse these substances, is usually it starts from experimental purposes. So some of them that are quite inquisitive would want to say, fine, let me just try this, let me just test this, let me just have a sip of, or have a feel of how this thing tastes like, and from there they are gone. While some of them is as a result of peer pressure, where they actually live among cycle that doesn't fit them, but they want to feel among. But some also are out of their own willingness to want to involve in the abuse of substances, while some use it as an escape route, or in other words, they use it to time travel due to certain issues that have bothered them over time. They would want to escape such situations at a particular point in time, and they now feel they find relief by taking certain substance to avoid them to think too much on certain issues. But what they don't really understand is it just takes you away for a moment, but the problem is still within you, is still around you, and it's still stuck with you. So the issue of drug abuse, you can't really see, because it varies depending of the abuser of that substance. So, but peer pressure, experimental purposes, some want to time travel, while some want to just feel among, just to feel that, yeah.
I actually wanted to say that one. Yeah, so Joanne, let me come back to you. You can hear what Isah has said. How can peer pressure influence, the decisions related to drug abuse, especially among our youths?
Well, I would say peer pressure really, really has serious impact on the youth, especially when you are in an environment that a lot of youth are just out there. Some are actually jobless, they don't have anything to do, and they just feel, instead of me being idle, why don't I just involve in something that, like he said, take me away? And then some do it due to depression. I'll put it like that. Because when you have a lot on your mind, you just feel when you take drugs or you abuse it, it gives you that peace and that joy that you need, forgetting the fact that it's really, really going to affect you in a very, very bad way.
Yeah.
You get. And you're not realizing it early, and then you feel you're doing it to just be happy and forget about your worries. Not knowing that it's really, really having a very, very bad impact in your life.
All right. Isah, you made mention of while you're investigating why young people go into drug abuse. I'm sure you must have come across some experiences that are, alarming. What are their reasons? And could you say is due to neglect from the parents? Because, parents need to be involved in these children's life to know what they are into. So would you say parents are also playing a role in young people abusing drugs?
Okay, before actually going into this, it is also very important to highlight the statistics behind drug abuse among youths in Nigeria. I think the most recent report by the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime puts the total population of drug users in Nigeria, I think around 14.4 million within the age bracket of 16 to 64. Within this is 14.3% of our total population.
The population, yes.
That's a significant number. But sometimes people actually tend to see maybe negligence from parents. Like growing up within the ghetto, and most of the people that I've interacted with within the ghetto, honestly, their parents are up and doing when it comes to the issue of drug abuse. Sometimes,
strict?
Very strict. Sometimes they even involve maybe quarreling, beating, which might not necessarily work out. But for them as parents, they are concerned to the extent that they actually go extreme by confining, beating, watching the kind of friends you keep. Until when it's overboard, it's beyond their capacity. Sometimes they tend to give up. Most parents tend to actually give up. But the issue is mostly sometimes the willingness from the youth. Willingness. Like most recently, I interacted with a drug user whom told me he started using drug when he joined a group of friends that are into cybercrime.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So now most of the activities start from midnight because of the time difference within Nigeria and maybe the United States and outside the country. So within that time, it's a time when your body, your system is actually thinking of, okay, I want to rest. I want to sleep. Meanwhile, you don't want to sleep because you have a motive. So you need something to keep you going. You need a substance to keep you motivated. You need something to keep you active and agile. That is how he started taking Indian hemp. From Indian hemp to
graduated into something.
Graduated into massive kind of substances that have tremendous negative impacts on his health. As we speak to you currently, he can't do a day without taking something. He has actually migrated from taking Indian hemp to taking ice, crack cocaine, something that keeps him more active and more lively for him to, because what he actually says is whenever he takes it, he's motivated to work. He calls that working.
But then he's causing harm, for himself and his body at the same time.
The harm that he doesn't see is sometimes he tends to walk and soliloquize to himself.
Wow.
It has reached that stage. But he is not actually aware that that's a problem.
Yes.
He feels this is something that...
Well, that's really a sad one. So, Joanne, you can see that part of Isah's introduction, or should I say from what he has said so far, he talked about, people actually starting by experimenting this abuse of substance. Now, in your own experience, I'm sure you might have also, come across friends or, few people that have abused drugs. What would you say is the reason for them for abusing these drugs, in your own opinion?
In my own opinion, I feel the reason why a whole lot of people abuse drugs is the impact it has on them whenever they take it. You get, it could be, I want to take something to keep me all night. Now someone will tell you, why don't you try taking this particular thing? And then you tell the person, how sure are you it's going to work? And then they just tell you, give it a try. The moment you do, and then you know it worked for you, now it becomes a continuous process. You might want to stop, but it will be too late for you to do that. You might want to walk, but you feel some kind of fatigue in your system, and they tell you to take this drug, when you take it, it helps you to walk 78 hours. Now you're desperate. You tell yourself, why don't I try it? I really want to try out this drug and see. When I try it and then it gives me what I want, of course, I'm definitely going to go on and on and on taking it. Each time I feel some type of way. If I don't want to walk, or if I want to walk but I don't have strength, I just feel once I take these particular drugs, it helps me. So I would say really, really, drugs is really crazy because I know I've seen people and the effects it really, really has on them. It's really, really bad. It's really bad. Especially when they don't have that drug they are looking for at that particular time. You don't want to see how paranoid they can be, aggressive, and even like it might even lead to you having a seizure or something.
Actually, I've actually seen people that have abused drugs and have seizures, and it's something that it takes a long time before they recover. So
a friend of mine also, while we were on in the campus during our university days, actually had seizure. We were actually just playing snooker, and he just collapsed and he started jacking. And I was quite shocked. So it was when I took him to the clinic, and after then he told me that he took tramadol. And I think maybe he took too much to the extent that it actually affected him, to the extent that it cost him serious. It took him a while before he actually recovered. So actually, a drug is something that, on a very serious note, I wouldn't encourage anybody to go into, because it will destroy your life. It will destroy your life. There is nothing even good about trying to experiment it. From a personal perspective, I know somebody who, because of drug, he meets you meets you every day, every time, and he tells you, please, give me 500. Can you give me 200?
Yeah,
and he forgets that he has asked you already like twice. You get, so it affects your mental health. It affects your way of
But then, how do you think they access these drugs? Because there has to be a way that these drugs come into Nigeria, not just Nigeria, the whole world. Because abuse is not just Nigeria alone. And the figures you just mentioned, from the age of 15, 18 to 64. So you can see that even the old people are also abusing drugs. So how do they even access it in your investigation so far that you've carried out?
Well, based on my investigation,
and what is the role of the NDLEA in this situation?
Okay, mostly how people actually access drug is sadly, most of these drugs are being sold over the counter when they're not supposed to be sold to people that don't have certain conditions. For instance, now tramadol, right? It's easily accessible. You can just get the roadside hawker to get tramadol. When it comes to Indian hemp, you go to ghettos, you see joints where this thing it's being sold openly, right? And when you talk about codeine, it's still something that is bought over the counter without a prescription.
Codeine has kind of like been kind of banned. Because these days you hardly see them without prescriptions. You don't even get it, even in the hospital.
It's been sold even till tomorrow.
Now that's alarming to know.
It's still sold even within chemists, respected chemists in some local communities. This is things that I've witnessed. This is based on investigation. I'm not saying it based on somebody's telling me.
So have you encountered an older person that from the ages that you've mentioned that has abused drugs? And what is it like, compared to the young people and when the older people take these drugs?
For the old person that I've interacted with physically, he told me if he could change time back, he wouldn't have been here, because it has made him lose his respect in his community. He sits with younger people to take drugs, and they tend to disrespect him. They don't tend to value him. Sometimes when he's over high, he tends to misbehave. Sometimes they have to pour him water. Sometimes they have to, younger children would video him and stuff like that, which has a long-term effect on not just him, including his family members, his children, his siblings. and a lot of people that are around him.
His loved ones,
His
generally.
loved ones. So once they see that this is so person's daughter, so he actually regrets it. And it's very difficult because he cannot stop it. Because once he wants to stop it, he actually relapses. So regarding the issue of the NDLEA, to certain extent, in the past few years, when Buba Marwa came in, they've done tremendous work. They've done tremendous work by sweeping. But this thing is a syndicate.
It has a way of
getting
back. Yes.
There are ways that we as individuals, as common persons, we contribute to smuggling these things.
Yes.
In a park, somebody might want to send a parcel to Kaduna, for instance, from Abuja. Within the content of the parcel, maybe there's a drug, maybe crack cocaine.
When you say smuggling, it just means that someone finding a way to
move it.
Yes. Okay, so let's go on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue this discussion. Don't go away. Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Youth Connect coming to you from our studios here in Abuja. Before we went on the break, Isah, you were talking about the effects of drugs, on both the young and the old. Joanne, let me come back to you on this. What do you think are the, short-term and long-term effects of drug abuse on our youths, with the experience that you've had or encounters that you've had with both the young and the older people? Is there something that you think they can...
Okay, I'll say the effects. Definitely, paranoia is one of them. Hallucinating. You can just be somewhere and you're already high and you start seeing things that are not even there. You have conversations with yourself when no one is there with you. And sleeping disorder is also an effect, yes. You might want to be awake for 2 days after taking something. And when you really want to stop, it doesn't come easy for you. It doesn't, because of the effects it already has in your system. Now it takes a process, serious process, for you to want to withdraw. Now, withdrawal is something that doesn't just happen when you want it to happen. I've seen people who were really, really into drugs, and when they wanted to stop, it was just so impossible. And then you could feel it, you could actually see them and feel their pain in some kind of way. Why? Because I want to stop this, but it's already late. Because the drugs has already had lots of effects on you. You see them having seizures, and these seizures could actually lead to you having stroke.
Okay, Joanne, let me take you back to a couple of years ago back in school. We have encountered people that said they take drugs and it enhances their ability, to get the things that they are reading to stick in their heads and all that. Do you think that really works for them? Because it feels like it affects their education in one way or the other.
Yeah. Well, back then, I would say to some, because I know some that were actually onto those stuffs. And trust me, with school, they were never present in class. They skipped class, tests, and the rest of them. But when it comes to you now going to them, trying to see if this person really, really knows what he or she is doing, it turns out that they were not present in any of those lectures, but they can lecture you to your own understanding. And at the end of the day, this person comes out with a very, very good grade, and you're wondering. Now, the thing is, our brains doesn't work the same. What might work for me might not work for this person, might not work for the other person. This person already knows if I should be on my marijuana or whatsoever it is I take, and I want to read, it sticks to my head. Another person might want to get high. The next thing you open your book, you want to sleep. Now that's another issue I feel affects people's education. I can't say because Mr. A takes drugs and when it comes to exams, it teaches some other people in class and then they pass. And I want to try it and see if I can succeed also. Forgetting the fact that my understanding and yours are quite different.
Okay, so Isah,
Now I'll say you don't. Yes.
yeah. All right, Joanne. Isah, let me come back to you. What role should parents play in this aspect to make sure that their kids, stop or don't abuse drugs, especially with the kind of peers that they mingle with? Because this is the problem that we have in our society. You don't know who your children are going around with. So how do you think parents can play a role in this situation?
Oh, well, you see, one of the issues from my own standpoint, that I feel most parents within the ghetto society that I've interacted with don't do is to sit and talk with their children.
Is it only the ghetto?
Yeah, because it's actually much obvious there, right? Because those that are within the class of haves usually do it within certain groups.
But even the higher class does that.
Yes, I do understand, but it's not compared to the way those within the ghetto abuse drugs. You find somebody in the ghetto that he hasn't eaten and he's taking a lot of things. He's taking solution, he's taking crack, he's taking Igbo, only him is taking much of things. But it's overboard, it's across board, right? But I'm just saying those that I've had experience with. You see, for parents,
in 1 minute.
Yes, for parents within that, like they actually don't sit and talk to their parents. Sometimes they become aggressive towards their children.
Okay, Joanne, in your own take, in 1 minute, what should parents do?
Don't fight your kids. Don't talk to them in a way that they will be scared to communicate with them.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much.
I feel communication.
All right. Thank you so much, Joanne Madaki, for your insight and contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Isah, for joining us
Thank
also.
You so much for
Thank you
me.
so much. Okay, now this is where we come to the end of this episode of Youth Connect. Do join us again next week for another interesting episode. Don't forget, I still remain your host, Fatima Ahmed Musa. Bye for now.